Hello and welcome to Verum Fabula Fellowship Podcast. I'm Wes Mullins.
And I'm Randy Hardman, and we will be your hosts today. It is our goal to bring you content that cultivates and enriches your daily interactions and encourages the refinement of character and intellect. The terrain we cover ranges from literature to philosophy to theology. It is our hope that through these lenses we can offer insight to the human experience and the human condition that is empowering and transformative.
Verum Fabula Fellowship is located in the beautiful town of Wilmore, Kentucky, and the podcast takes place at Drinkling's Roastery on Main Street. This is also where the fellowship meets regularly and where members are encouraged to present new thoughts and ideas, engage with interesting and important topics in discussion seminars, and interact with and listen to keynote speakers invited in to challenge us intellectually and spiritually. It is a true intellectual collective. Please rate this podcast on iTunes, and if we've said things that are helpful, be sure to tell your Lewis and Tolkien friends about us. With no more ado, here we go. Further up and further in. Hello there. Whoa, I have a serious issue here. Let's see if we can't fix this. Nope. Hello? There it is. Okay. That was a crazy time there. Hello, I am Wes Mullins. I'm your host today for Verum Fabula Fellowship, the C.S. Lewis Tolkien Inkling Society that meets regularly on Monday nights at 7 p.m. at Drinkling's Roastery, 325 Main Street, Wilmore, Kentucky. It's been a while since we've done a pre-meeting talk, so I thought I would give you some updates on what we've been doing. Since we've come back from the soft opening over the summer, we have been going over books. It's not actually like a book club per se, but we've been going over The Great Divorce. We spent 3 weeks going over The Great Divorce, wrestling with questions that we find in there as a collective. And we've now moved on to Leaf by Niggle. So we're probably going to rotate C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, some of the other Inkling members. We'll probably throw some Sherlock Holmes in there. We're going to get some books that have been very influential and informative and empowering in our lives, and we're going to wrestle those out with others that have different perspectives. Now, one of the goals is to compile all of our wrestlings and to hopefully turn it into some essay that we can then submit for publication as Verum Fabula Fellowship. And so we actually want to make an impact in literature and literary societies, not only just to enrich ourselves, but if we say things here that also might be helpful to enrich the lives of others. So we're going over Leaf by Niggle. We did part 1 last Monday, and we're doing part 2. There is no part 1 and part 2 to Leaf by Niggle, but we were basically breaking down last week what are the main questions that Tolkien is getting at here. What are the main questions that our hero Niggle is having to wrestle with? And some of the questions in particular are, what is success? What is art? What is the purpose of art? When should an obsession, when does a passion turn into an obsession? When does an obsession go too far? Who are your neighbors? How do you take care of your neighbors? Who's responsible for certain things in your life, certain things in society? When does your art get in the way of you being a profitable member of society? And who's to say whether you spending time doing art is more profitable than you doing things actually in the city? And city into the culture. And I think what we can look at here is very importantly, we can look at C.S. Lewis. He never left Oxford, except during the war he was in France, and on his honeymoon with Joy, his belated honeymoon, they went to Greece. Besides that, he never left really England. After he moved over there from Ireland, he never left. Yet his books have traveled the world, and his time spent at Magdalen and at Cambridge, wrestling out these ideas that we now get to wrestle with ourselves and illuminating things for us that had otherwise not been illuminated so clearly. By him staying put and doing that, it has actually had a greater impact in the world than had he gone out and actually not done the writing. And so you may say, well, he wasn't a great humanitarian, but the art that he created, Narnia, is one of the top books in England still today. It's one of the top fantasy and children's literature and literature in general. Narnia is one of the top books in England that everyone knows about. So he has impacted culture far greater by staying put than he may have if he was going out and doing humanitarian aid or doing other things inside of culture. And so I think what you'll see in the part two of this with Niggle is you'll see something maybe that you weren't thinking about. And as far as what purpose does art have in culture, and when should you be doing art and when should you be engaging culture? And are those two synonymous? Are they congruent? Are they the antithesis of each other? Societal laws and society has this idea of what you're supposed to be doing, but you have this burning desire inside of you, this art that just speaks to you and calls to you. You know, Niggle said it was the rustling of a leaf in the wind that set his imagination on fire, and he obsessed about nothing but leaves in this tree in this painting for the rest of his life until the driver came. Those of you who know the book will know what I'm talking about. And so it's a really good thing to wrestle with. What is the purpose of art on earth? Because there are a lot of evangelicals and a lot of people who believe that art is useless and meaningless, because why spend your life painting this picture when it's all going to decay and go away? This earth's going to die. So if you take that level of thinking, you also have to say, then what good is it to follow laws and rules if it's all going to go away in the end? And suddenly you begin to pull at that thread of that sweater, and you're going to unravel the entire thing if you say, we need to figure out what things are beneficial for society. And you may not know what's beneficial for society. I'm thinking of, there's many of these stories of a person who doesn't know their past. In literature, think of a literary story. This person doesn't know their past. They have this necklace, this amulet that they're wearing, and they are told it was given to them by their parents. It's all they have. They were orphaned as young children, and all they have is this amulet, this necklace, this medallion, and they don't know what it means, but it came from their parents, so it is very special to them, and it holds value, and so they are passionate about keeping it. They would sell everything they have except for that, and they would hold dear to that. Now, their passion is misplaced, because as the story goes on, that medallion actually is the symbol and the authority of their nobility, and they actually are the next king of whatever, they're the next ruler of whatever tribe or city or culture that they're a part of. This actually gives them the authority, and this is the token, the kingly token that all princes have, and suddenly they are bestowed with wealth and things. But their passion was misplaced. They did it because they held on to it because it was a memento of a life they didn't know and of a mystery they didn't know. But actually, it was something far, far greater than that. They had no idea. And so an artist may not know exactly why they are obsessed with this certain thing of art, why they can only paint this one thing, why they can only think this one thought, why is this recurring theme seen throughout their lives. And if we don't take stock and notice those things and say, why is this thing pulling at me? Why do I have a call to go to Africa? Why do I have a call to travel? Why do I have this unction all the time to just go do this or that, or play basketball or hunt, or all these things? It's like there's this thing that pulls me into that. And there's joy and there's fulfillment that comes out of it. And you're like, what? Why is this thing pulling me? And a lot of times these are the things that God's placed inside of us that need an outlet to come out. And so in the second half of the book, what we're going to talk about in Leaf by Niggle is we're going to talk about what it means, what the purpose of art. We're going to finish the thought of what is the purpose of art on earth, and does it have any purpose or usefulness in heaven? And when I read this book recently, several times, I just bawled. Well, I won't say bawled. I cried. Tears streamed down my eyes because it was so powerful that Niggle actually, he spends his whole, those of you who aren't familiar with, let me paint you a picture. But Let me paint you a picture. So there's this leaf rustling in the wind, and Niggle is a painter, but not a very good one. He's obsessed now with painting leaves and getting them just right. He finally he built a shed to have this painting in. He paints this tree, and then there's a forest behind it, and there's a mountain back there he's painted as well. He can't see everything just as clearly, but he's painting this, and the picture is far greater than his capacity or ability to paint. But he paints this picture, and he focuses all of his time on these leaves, and he lets his garden go, and he doesn't go out and talk to his neighbors. He's not really social in the culture, and he's kind of a stowaway, and he feels like everything around him that pulls him away from his painting is a nuance. But at the end of the story, he actually goes and visits what we would consider to be heaven. And before he gets to heaven, he comes to this place, and it's called Niggle's Parish. Those of you know what a parish is a place of responsibility. And when he gets into the parish, he sees his tree. Not as he painted it, but as he imagined it. That passion that was inside of him, that thing inside of him that he could not shake, was actually growing there. He saw it in all of its majesty and all its beauty exactly as he had imagined it. The thing that he'd obsessed about on this earth that he couldn't quite grasp it, he couldn't quite get it correctly, he saw it there. And he saw the mountain, and he saw the tree. Everything that he had painted, he saw there. Francis Schaeffer says that the art of earth will be the furniture of heaven. And it's just an incredible thought to think about, that the things that we create here may actually have eternal value. The things that you do here, not just your choices. It's not your free choice like in the Great Divorce we talked about. It's about choice. Our choices actually determine whether we are in heaven or hell. Our choices, C.S. Lewis says, the gates of hell are locked from the inside. It's all about choice. And here, Tolkien is wrestling with art. Does it have a purpose? Will Middle Earth be a part of heaven? Could you imagine if all the great places that in literature that were available that you would actually go into? Wouldn't that be an incredible thing, that you could actually go into Hogwarts? My wife would love to go into Hogwarts. What if that's a real place in heaven, that you actually get to go to Hogwarts? You get to be a part of Narnia. You get to be a part of Middle Earth, not with Sauron and all those, but you get to be in Gondor with the White Tree and the Return of the King and Aragon and the Hobbits. You get to go to the Shire. What if those things are actual places? If you read The Last Battle, what you find out is Aslan tells the kids that the Shadowlands is gone. Earth was temporal. It was a Shadowlands. It was almost a bad imitation. This is real Narnia. This is real Narnia. And it's everything you had in England and in Narnia, but it's the real thing. That was like a vapor. That was like a shadow, an inkling of a thought of what it could be. So maybe what an artist is doing, maybe the artist is not creating Hogwarts. Maybe the artist is getting an image of what Hogwarts is, or maybe the artist is getting an image of what Narnia is, and they're painting what they've been given, but not necessarily painting it and causing it to exist. But actually, in this book, Tolkien wrestles the idea that because he painted it, it existed, because it came into his mind, because he has creative power, because we have a divine spark and we have creative energies, because we are made in the image of God, who is the great creator, that our conscious will can produce things in heaven. And that would be an amazing, fantastic thought to have, and a reality to have, which brings me to the thought, if Francis Schaeffer's correct, and if Tolkien's correct, and if Lewis is correct in all this, would it also be fair to say that in hell, the things that you create that are not of God, that are void of all of his characteristics, would those also be found in hell? So Rob Zombie, all of his depraved beings would be there to meet him. Wes Craven's Krueger would be there. Halloween guy, Jason, Voorhees would be there. All these evil, horrible things that were created will actually be there in hell, as well as the most beautiful things that we see in heaven. So it's almost like, what if the artists who are painting those things are getting glimpses of creatures and things that are actually a part of hell? That, I think you have to go to the flip side of this as well and look at that. So this is going to be a great discussion tonight. We'll see who shows up for it. And in a few weeks, we'll probably be doing some Chesterton maybe, or some more of this. Maybe we'll pull out some essays from Lewis, like Transposition or Learning During Wartime. I'm thinking Weight of Glory might be a good one to talk about, since we have this theme of heaven going on with The Great Divorce and Leaf by Niggle. And it's all talking about heaven. So maybe we go the Weight of Glory might be a good one there. So anyway, this has been Wes Mullins. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at Verum_Fabula_Fellowship. And you can find this podcast on anywhere where you get podcasts. Please leave a 5-star review. If you want to rate it any less than 5 stars, please do not comment. Unless you really feel the need to, then go for it. You can also follow me, at Wes Mullins on Instagram, and Wes Mullins on Facebook. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day further up and further in.